Welcome, welcome to Beshel News Podcast. Stay tuned to updates on when the police can use deadly force, Biden's infrastructure plan, how everyone thinks Biden's doing as president, more protests. Welcome back to Beshel News Podcast. This is Christian Beshel. Right now, we're going to be talking about his 25-page plan on his infrastructural plan. Here we're going to have a video right here. Well, let's first talk about when the police can use deadly force. Okay, according to Cornell Law School Legal Information Institute, deadly force means that force which is a reasonable person would consider likely to cause death or serious bodily harm. Its use may be justified only under conditions of extreme necessity, when all lesser means have failed or cannot reasonably be employed. A protective force officer is authorized to use deadly force only when or more of the following circumstances exist. First one, self-defense. When deadly force reasonably appears to be necessary to protect a protective force officer who reasonably believes himself or herself to be in imminent danger of death or seriously bodily harm. Serious offenses against persons. When deadly force reasonably appears to be necessary to prevent the commission of a serious offense against a person in circumstances presenting an imminent danger of death or seriously bodily harm, for instance, sabotage of an occupied facility by explosive. Nuclear weapons or nuclear explosive devices. When deadly force reasonably appears to be necessary to prevent the theft, sabotage, or unauthorized control of the nuclear weapon or nuclear explosive device. 4. Special nuclear material. When deadly force reasonably appears to be necessary to prevent the theft, sabotage, or unauthorized control of special nuclear material from an area of a fixed site or from a shipment where Category 2 or greater quantities are known or reasonably believed to be present. Apprehension. When deadly force reasonably appears to be necessary to apprehend or prevent the escape of a person reasonably believed to have committed an offense of the nature specified in paragraphs A1 through A4 of this section, or be escaping by use of a weapon or explosive, or otherwise indicates that she opposes a significant threat of death or seriously bad harm to protect a force officer or others unless apprehended without delay. These offenses are considered by the Department of Energy to pose a significant threat of death or seriously bodily harm. B. An additional consideration involving firearms. If it becomes necessary to use a firearm, the following precautions shall be observed. Number 1 is a warning. For instance, in order to be halt shall be given, if feasible, before a shot is fired. Number 2, warning shots shall not be fired. Moving on to Biden's infrastructural plan. Okay, so the American Jobs Plan, the infrastructural plan. While the Americans Rescue Plan is changing the course of the pandemic and delivering relief for working families, this is no time to go back the way things were. This is the moment to reimagine and rebuild a new economy. The American Jobs Plan is an investment in America that will create millions of good jobs, rebuild our country's infrastructure, and position the United States to outcompete China. Public domestic investments as a share of the economy has fallen more than 40% since the 1960s. The American Jobs Plan will invest in America in a way we have invested since we built the interstate highways and won the space race. The United States of America is the wealthiest country in the world. We rank 13 overall quality of our infrastructure. Our decades of disinvestment, our roads, bridges, and water systems are crumbling. Our electric grid is vulnerable to catastrophic outages. Too many lack access to affordable high-speed internet and to quality housing. So basically, the President of America's Job Plan is a historic public investment. It's consistently principally of one-time capital investments. The scope of what should be considered infrastructure has a point of contention. Republicans have to focus on more traditional. Now, this gives you a better idea.
Once-in-a-generation investment in America, unlike anything we've seen or done since we built the interstate highway system and the space race decades ago. In fact, it's the largest American jobs investment since World War II. It will create millions of jobs, good-paying jobs. It will grow the economy, make us more competitive around the world, promote our national security interests, and put us in a position to win the global competition with China in the upcoming years. It's big, yes. It's bold, yes. And we can get it done.
What the proposal the president will make is that some of the very steep tax cuts aimed at the very wealthy and the biggest corporations that were passed under the Trump administration will be undone and pay for this. The infrastructure is so important, and if it's a large package, we could do big new projects here in Western New York, not just rehabilitate our roads or our water or our sewer. So it's really vital. We depend on transportation. We're a crossroads right here. And getting money for infrastructure helps us revitalize our economy and create new jobs. But the pay for will be undoing some of the Trump tax cuts that were aimed at the wealthiest people and the wealthiest corporations.
It's not surprising at all that the Business Roundtable and the Chamber don't think that raising taxes on the corporate sector is sound. I mean, that's not exactly surprising. And there'll be quite a debate over the various components of the Biden tax plan, which are just now coming out. But 5 years ago, at the end of the Obama administration, the business community was pretty well agreed on cutting the corporate rate from 35 to 28. I don't mean to say everybody thought that was perfect, but there was a widespread agreement, as I remember it. So coming back and saying, oh my gosh, 28% is a terrible idea, I think is a little questionable.
He's going to lay out his plan, where to invest, how to invest, and he's also going to offer a way to pay for it. He will say, and we will say, we're open to conversations. If people have other ideas about how to pay for it, how to structure this, that's how the process will be. But the president's got a pretty clear vision for how we could do this, and it would be really good for the economy.
Also, on another note, this past Thursday, a violence against Asian bill was just passed this past Thursday within a stunning number, with Republicans 94 to 1. 94 senators and Congress voted for that bill in the Senate.
At a time when Washington is increasingly bitter and divided, the Senate came together today to overwhelmingly denounce and tackle hate against Asian Americans. Senators passed the COVID-19 hate crimes bill 94 to 1. Only the Missouri Republican Josh Hawley voted no, calling it too broad. The rest of the United States Senate disagreed.
I cannot tell you how important this bill is to the AAPI community, who often has felt very invisible in our country. To be the victims of unprovoked, just random assaults on them as they are minding their own business. As important as the content and substance of the bill is the message of this bill, that we in the Senate are going to stand with our AAPI community.
Well, the bill gives incentives to police to keep track of hate crimes. It creates a new position in the Department of Justice to speed up review of the crimes. And it works with local agencies to raise awareness of hate crime reporting, including the creation of an online reporting system. The bill heads to the House next. It is expected to pass in a few weeks. Then President Biden has said he'll sign it.
Also, on another note, this is also AOC's reaction to Biden's infrastructure plan. Her thoughts about, her thoughts about it.
They don't have hot water. They don't have electricity sometimes. There are holes in people's walls. The New York City Public Housing Authority needs $40 billion alone just so that its residents can live in dignified housing, because they've been underinvested in and starved, frankly, by Republican Congresses and administrations for so long. So for us to actually invest in national public housing infrastructure, we need to do way more in order for us to deliver on this promise in terms of a price tag there. Now, in terms of scope, I think, again, I really do have to commend some of these investments that are in here. And some of these details, like exclusionary zoning, are things that progressives have been talking about for a long time. So there is a lot of credit there. But on climate, we can also go more, we can go deeper, and we can have a more integrated approach in how we push on this issue. Again, I do commend the administration in its scope, but in order for us to meet that vision, I have real concerns that 2.2 trillion isn't actually going to get us there. So we're going to have to make deeper investments to actually renew public housing, to repeal the Faircloth Amendment, to increase our housing stock in the United States. And this, at the end of the day, is one of the greatest sources of income inequality in the country. It's rooted in housing and real estate.
In terms of how this is going to
Also, on another note, more protests that happened this past weekend. Portland mayor urges residents to unmask rioters after weeks of violence. The mayor of Portland, Oregon, asked residents for help Friday in putting an end to violent protests that have erupted in recent weeks and periodically since last summer, and urged the public to stand together and take the city back. They want to burn, they want to bash, they want to intimidate, they want to assault, Mayor Ted Wheeler, Democrat, said Friday after announcing that the city would extend its state of emergency through Monday after a string of demonstrations that resulted in several businesses being vandalized and public buildings defaced. Our job is to unmask them, arrest them, and prosecute them, he said, asking the public to contact the police, provide them with information about the rioters, write down their license plate numbers to film them when they commit acts of vandalism. Wheeler asked for residents' cooperations, which he underlined should be non-confrontational, ahead of the march planned for Friday night that was announced on social media as an autonomous demonstration. The march began around 9 p.m. in Northwest Portland with about 75 people mostly dressed in black. It was declared a riot by the police soon after protests began blocking streets, breaking windows of the Starbucks and writing graffiti on the restaurant and the bus shelter, according to the police statement. A small group of participants also pushed their way into a restaurant. Officers arrested 2 people, both 29, and charged them with criminal mischief in the first degree. Police said they had found a flyer with the instructions: block up, be warded, no megaphones, no streamers. Such words had been included on flyers on previous nights when people armed with weapons used to cause damage, wearing helmets, body armor, and gas masks, had committed crimes such as criminal mischief, arson, and assault. Police said in a statement before the march. The fact that the flyer discouraged live streaming led the police to think the participants intended to commit crimes and wanted to avoid video evidence that could be used to identify and arrest them. The statement added, ahead of the march, Wheeler also instructed people to intervene and stop the self-described anarchist mob from engaging in criminal destruction, as he underscored the need for the community to stand together. Our community needs to resume their lives. People need to go back to work. Employers need to be able to reopen. Wheeler said, adding that all the support all police tactics needed, including the controversial Kettling maneuver, which is to surround, box, and contain the crowd by blocking off exit points and then making arrests. The mayor also commended Black and Black Lives Matter leaders who have spoken against the violence. In the same video conference, Chris Davis, a deputy chief in Portland Borough of Police, said the community is tired of pointless violence, and added they are seeing the same people join these demonstrations, which several of them have been arrested more than one for crimes ranging from disorderly conduct to arson and even attempted murder. Friday's unrest was the latest in a recent string of violent incidents in the city. Last Monday, a group of about 80 people protested outside police precinct and smashed windows at Blazer Boys and Girls Club across the street, causing thousands of dollars of damage to the nonprofit organization that serves neighborhood youth. We are heartbroken by what had happened here last night, Terry Johnson, the club chief executive, told KPTV Fox 12 Oregon. Anytime a building is impacted, we can't provide safe space for serving our kids. Johnson added, that he supported peaceful protests to address the police brutality and systemic problems of criminal justice. The week before, during another large demonstration decrying the police killing of Dante Wright in Minnesota and the fatal shooting in the South Portland, protest lit fires smashed windows at the First Christian Church as well as the Oregon Historical Society. Interface to Concert Hall, local media reported. The city of Portland had been a center of protests against racial justice and police brutality since last summer. After George Floyd's death, thousands of protesters poured into the streets for more than 100 straight days, and some engaged police in violent clashes, throwing firebombs, rocks, and bottles at officers while police responded with tear gas. In September, the anti-police demonstrations reached a violent climax when Michael Forrest Renoco, an Antifa supporter, allegedly shot and killed a supporter of a far-right group. Renoco was later killed by federal authorities when they tried to arrest him. Now, this armed federal agents detained unsuspecting people in Portland. This is what is happening next.
Living in a delusion. America is in crisis.
Also, a former Swedish LGBT activist has been convicted of raping 4 migrants during his work. The 56-year-old man was a member of Sweden's largest LGBT organization, RFSL, where he allegedly helped migrants obtain asylum on the grounds of their sexual orientation. In April 2020, he was accused of raping 4 men and exposing 2 of them to sexual harassment in his office. He was found guilty by Stockholm District Court and sentenced to 4 years in prison. He must also pay damages to the victims. The crimes also took place between October 2018 and to October 2019, the court said. The victims had all turned to the migrant consultant with the hope of getting people in the asylum process, the court said in its statement. They've either been asylum seekers, undocumented, awaiting execution, or worked on a temporary work permit. The court found that the migrants were in a particularly vulnerable situation when they approached the consultant who had abused his power. Police are now investigating 6 more potential victims. In a statement, the FSL welcomed the decision and urged those affected to seek redress. No perpetrator should be able to use RFSL operations to abuse people in a vulnerable position, the organization said. RFSL said that the Stockholm branch had immediately launched an internal investigation when the first allegations of sexual assault was made against their former employee. but but the organization acknowledged that the initial probe had been insufficient and had not provided through evidence to take action. At the time, the victim was not willing to file a police report because, among other things, they were undocumented. But when more accusations surfaced and victims were ready to file a police report, the employee was dismissed. OFSL said they are continuing to review routines and guidelines for the employees, volunteers, and trustees. OFSL's operation must be safe, continually evolving, quality assured through systemic work, the organization said. OFSL is an organization built on values of protecting and supporting LGBTQ people subjected to violence, threats, and hate. Such acts that cause a person harm or suffering can never be accepted. The LGBT group acknowledged they had important work ahead to regain the community's trust and reiterated the condemnation of all forms of abuse. The most important thing is that the victims of their abuse now contain redress, said RFSL's President Dmitry Palacios. RFSL has a lot of work to do to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Rediscovering Portland in larger numbers after nearly a year of quarantine.
So this is also moving on. This is the protest. This is a news conference, continuing violence in Portland.
And are happily rediscovering Portland in larger numbers after nearly a year of quarantine. Justice was served. Following the verdict in the Chauvin trial, there's some sense of relief and hope, and of course, a reminder of how much work we have left to do. The city is beginning to recover, but self-described anarchists who engage in regular criminal destruction don't want things to open up, to recover. They want to prevent us from doing the work of making a better Portland for everyone. They want to burn, they want to bash, like they did to the nonprofit Boys and Girls Club in Northeast Portland. Really, they want to intimidate. They want to assault. There are people who will not join me at news conferences like this one because they're afraid that the self-described anarchist mob will show up at their house or their business. Many courageous BLM leaders have already stepped forward to denounce these self-described anarchists. If they can, we all should. If BLM leaders can show the courage to stand up to this mob, then we all should. I'm going to tell you what we're doing and how you can help. We've learned that once again, tonight, the anarchists have called for more destruction, starting with a gathering at Cooch Park. We shared the flyer that they posted on social media with you in our news advisory. As your mayor, I'm responsible for safety and livability in our city, and I direct considerable resources of the city. We also have the partnership and cooperation of the county, state, and federal partners to intervene and stop the self-described anarchists' mayhem. Our community needs to resume their lives. People need to go back to work. Employers need to be able to reopen. I've directed the police bureau to arrest people engaged in legal activity whenever they can safely do so tonight to prevent and limit further destruction. I support our police using all legal strategies, including kettling, when the appropriate circumstances and resources are available to do so without putting officers at risk of physical harm. The anarchist threat against the Pearl District on social media is part of their ongoing attempt to instill fear by intimidation. We must stand together as a community against this ongoing criminal intimidation and violence. I've met with the district attorney, the U.S. attorney, the sheriff, and others who all agree they too will take actions to hold law violators accountable. And I've extended the state of emergency through the weekend. Our job is to unmask them, arrest them, and prosecute them. I want to personally thank neighbors, family, friends, and others who've come forward with vital evidence. People know who these criminals are. They know what they're up to. If you have any information, please contact the police. Acting Chief Davis will provide specifics shortly. I also want you to know that these people often arrive at their so-called direct actions in cars, and they're all dressed in all black. Black. If you see this, call the police. If you can provide a license plate, if you can do so. So safely, that information can help later. Together, we can make a stand. We're doing what we can today. I'm also asking for your help to make a stand and take our city back. Thank you. Now I'd like to turn it over to Acting Chief Chris Davis. Chief?
Thanks, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Davis, the Deputy Chief of the Portland Police Bureau. As the mayor said tonight, we're expecting yet another so-called direct action event, this time in Couch Park in Northwest Portland. As always, we'll have resources available to address any criminal activity the group engages in. This will impact our ability to respond to other needs in the city, but we will work with what we have to prioritize calls for service and handle the situation as best we can. We're seeing a lot of the same people at these events night after night after night. And several people have been arrested now more than once for crimes ranging all the way from disorderly conduct to arson and even attempted murder. For example, there's one 23
I have that full clip in the link below in another video, so for y'all to watch. Also, moving on with all those people, Dogecoin millionaire who risked life savings didn't cash out before the price crashed. Dogecoin investor who claims to have gambled his entire life savings on the token becoming an overnight millionaire when its price suddenly rocketed, chose not to cash out at its peak and is now back to six figures after the market plunged. But 30-year-old Los Angeles resident Jason Prolific, legally known as Glauber Concesoto, told Newsweek he does not regret hanging on his tokens even as the value drops again. Financial experts warned others against taking high stakes or risk like Prolificus. Citing screenshots and video of his investment that Newsweek could not independently verify, the music video producer and artist manager said his $188,000 holding had turned into nearly $2 million of Dogecoin last week. Newsweek attempted to verify Prolific's claims by accessing screen recordings and external footage with his consent. Prolific says he invested his life savings into Dogecoin back in February when it was priced at below 5 cents after doing several days of research feeling it was undervalued. And in mid-April, Dogecoin spiked to a record high of 45 cents. However, Dogecoin is currently worth around 23 cents, down sharply from its peak, and also fell between Tuesday and Wednesday despite the community efforts to pump the coin's price on 4/20, dubbed Dodge Day. The cryptocurrency market is widely known amid reports U.S. President Joe Biden is planning capital gains tax increase. Prolific told Newsweek his investment had dropped below $1 million on Friday morning. A serious correction was needed after the rally, so this was expected. Looking back, I wouldn't have done anything different because the worst thing you could ever do is to try to time the market. The exact same thing happened at the end of the January into February when Dodge went from 1 cent to 8 cents and then back to 2 cents and then slowly started climbing up from there. I share my losses on a Dodge Reddit page just like I spare my gains. It would be very disingenuous of me to pretend like Dodge only goes up, up, up and never dips down. Prolific's decision to put such an amount of capital into one asset is a huge personal financial risk that goes against generally accepted investing advice. Andreas Park, associate professor of finance at the University of Toronto, told Newsweek, Dogecoin's volatility is staggering and said risk could always be kept under control. Investing in many assets ensures that people are diversified so that they don't suffer disproportionately from losses in individual investment, Park said. The volatility of many crypto assets is staggering. It's not uncommon that prices fluctuate by plus or minus 10%, more over just a few hours. There's no case for Dogecoin. There's a little support for it from the technology community to price rise. It's not unlike that of GameStop, which also saw price rise bar any fundamental value justification. On Prolific's investment, Park said, "This is simply insane. I hope he has liquidated his position and accounted for capital gain taxes." Dogecoin was started in 2013 as a joke cryptocurrency born from the Dodge meme that its fans ended up taking seriously. Its popularity has been boosted by the support of SpaceX and Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who has tweeted about it on a number of occasions in the past few months. His comments tend to be followed by token price soaring. On April 15, Prolific anonymously announced his investment had surpassed $1 million in a Reddit post under his I used to call Dodge account. Prolific told Newsweek the return on the investment could eventually change his lifestyle when he cashes in, depending on the token's price. He said, "I have a 2004 Toyota Corolla. I have paint chipping off the entire car because it was broken down for the whole year, and I had to ride my bicycle to work every day. I have a side view mirror that's completely broken off the car, and obviously I had $188,000 to put into Dogecoin right. I've been saving up money. I have made great choices and great picks on stocks. Could I have taken some of that and bought a brand new car? Yes, for whatever reason I waited. Cryptocurrency is widely acknowledged as subject to price volatility based on speculation. Even with traditional investing, such as on the stock market, analysis says a responsible approach requires a broad and diverse portfolio of assets and have warned against making large speculative investments in Dogecoin. Glenn Goodman, a cryptocurrency expert and the author of The Crypto Trader, has made money off of trading Dogecoin. He told Newsweek this coin is risky and could drop to zero value one day. Goodman said sensible cryptocurrency investing is about making profits while keeping your risk level strictly under control. Buying Dogecoin is closer to gambling than to investing. There's no work there's no way to work out a fair valuation for Dodge, particularly as very few people actually use it for a real-world transaction. Dodge has come a long way, but there's nothing to stop it one day crashing into almost zero, probably when Elon Musk gets tired of tweeting about it. I saw many traders who enjoyed overnight success destroy their accounts when Bitcoin crashed in 2018. No doubt the same thing will happen again to all those who don't take care. Despite his significant life-saving prolific stresses, he didn't come from money. I used to pile a bunch of toys in my backpack, and when I would go into the school bus on the way to school, I would sell those toys to kids in the bus, he said. I have a whole plan. Like, the first thing I want to do is make sure my mom never has to work another day in her life. She's an angel. I'm going to take care of all my immediate family first, then I'm going to make sure I'm straight after that. Then I'm going to start making sure my friends are good. That's kind of my plan. Looking ahead, he's still bullish about the future of the token and wants to use his investment to fund a music promotion, a career, and a rap record label inspired by one rapper he met in Maryland. I'm going to start my own record label, and I'm going to have him to be the first artist I sign to this record label. You need money to make this happen, so I have money to fund it. And also, immigration border crisis seems to be at an all high. Governor Ducey also announces what he wants to do.
The crisis at our southern border. I've been briefed by Border Patrol and law enforcement leaders on the situation in our border communities. And let me tell you, it's just as bad, if not worse, than the coverage we've been seeing. The U.S. Border Patrol is overwhelmed. Local law enforcement and mayors are calling out for help. Citizens in our border communities are concerned for their safety, and nonprofits left to pick up the pieces of broken federal policies are strained. Just last month, Customs and Border Protection had over 170,000 apprehensions at our border. Almost 19,000 of these apprehensions were unaccompanied children. That's more than 4 times the number of kids apprehended last March. The numbers don't lie. This drastic surge is a direct result of the bad policy coming out of Washington, D.C. And yet we still haven't received an adequate response from the Biden administration. It's clear that they have no plan. They can't even agree on whether this is a crisis or not. One day the president himself says it is. The next day, others in the administration take it back. I said last month that the Biden administration is totally divorced from reality. Now, at times, it seems like they fully understand the reality, and they're putting their heads in the sand and trying to ignore it anyway. The White House is aware of my view that Arizona needs the National Guard at the border. We've provided details of the personnel and support we need, laying it out as simply as possible so they can act immediately. And yet, to this date, there has been no action. The men and women of the National Guard are willing to assist, but their support has been severely limited by the inaction of the White House. If President Biden does the right thing and acts, they will be able to support ICE and CBP, 2 agencies that desperately need all the support they can get. But it doesn't look like this administration is going to act anytime soon, and we're not going to sit around and wait any longer. That's why today I'm announcing that we are deploying the National Guard on our own. The National Guard will also be available to support other law enforcement agencies, like our state troopers, who are seeing the very real consequences of the Biden administration's failed policies. The Guard will support by assisting with medical operations in detention centers, installing and maintaining border cameras, monitoring and collecting data from our cameras, and analyzing satellite imagery for current trends in smuggling corridors. The Guard has demonstrated that no job is too big or too small for them. Over the past year, they've supported in restocking grocery shelves, and they've helped stop riots in our streets. I know they're up for this challenge too. We've also briefed the legislature on this plan, and together we've agreed to provide up to $25 million to support this effort. I'm optimistic this action will help keep Arizonans safe. There's more work to be done, and I call on the federal government to do more to resolve this crisis. And I implore our U.S. senators and federal delegation to also apply pressure on the White House. But if this administration isn't going to do anything, then we will. I look forward to visiting Yuma County tomorrow to get more details from community leaders and law enforcement officials about what they're seeing on the ground. Thank you, and God bless.
And as for Trump, he also had an exclusive, there was an exclusive interview on Fox News with former President Donald Trump.
Of interview with the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump. I want to know this question. What are your plans to help for 2022? We talked about the House and the states. Are you thinking about running again in 2024? And if so, where are you in that process?
We are going to help with the House. I think we have a really good chance. I'm working with everybody, including Kevin McCarthy, on taking back the House. I think we have a really good chance in doing it. Likewise, the Senate's going to be a little bit tougher, but the Senate, so I told you that at least 8 senators would have lost their race. I could name them, but I don't want to embarrass them. But that includes Mitch, who was heading south. He called me up. He said, I need your help. And I'm very popular in Kentucky. I love Kentucky, and they love me. And I helped him, and he won by the most he's ever won by. So we are going to help with the Senate, and I think we have a good chance
You
at
got
the
Marco
Senate.
Rubio. I hear Herschel's name mentioned a lot in Georgia.
Herschel would
I
be
hear Laura Trump's name mentioned a lot in North Carolina. Sununu in New Hampshire. I think he could win that race.
I think so, too.
Ron Johnson in Wisconsin.
Ron Johnson's a great.
He's been a great senator.
He is a great. He is much more popular than anybody understands.
We don't know who's going to run in Ohio, but these are
We
all.
have some good candidates in Ohio.
So
I think we have a real chance at the Senate. I think we have a really, really good chance.
So tell me how far are you willing to go?
No,
Are you
I'm
going to
going
travel?
all the way.
Are you going to do
Oh,
speeches?
sure,
Are you going to do rallies for these candidates?
If they need a rally, we'll do a rally. We'll do calls. We'll do all sorts of things. No, we're all in. Alabama is going to be a tremendous win with Mo Brooks. We have a tremendous look. Almost everybody I endorse wins. We had a House seat in Louisiana, a wonderful woman, just happened. Her husband died of COVID. He was congressman-elect, and she is, Julia, she was fantastic. But a lot of people thought she might not get in the runoff. I endorsed her. She got 65% of the vote. There was no runoff. It's very important that we get the right people, and that means in the Senate, it means in the House, and it also means in governorships, because if you have a good governor...
And legislatures, state legislatures.
Well, that's so important. The legislatures have...
That's where they're going to fix the voting
We've
issues.
had a lot of great legislators. Unfortunately, the courts refuse to listen, even though it's in the Constitution that they have to. The courts have been very, very
H.R. 1, I argue, usurps the constitutional authority of state legislatures. Now the big question. Two parts. What do you miss the most about being in the White House, and how seriously are you considering running again in 2024?
We're calling these the new billion.
I miss the most helping people, because I can directly help people. That's why I did it. Look, this has been a very traumatic... I had a great life. Great company, great business, no problems. And now all I do is people go after you. It's vicious, it's horrible. But you know what? I love doing it because I help people. And I've helped them more than any president with the cutting of taxes, with the regulations, with right to try.
You're proud
you know
of
how
all
big right to try is?
Huge.
Where you don't have to travel to all sorts of different continents to try and get something. We have the greatest doctors and the greatest labs. We can use their medicines now. If somebody's terminally ill, they can sign a quick little document. You can use and that's had a huge thing.
What are you most proud of, though?
A lot of things. I'm very proud of the tax cuts. I hope they don't screw it up, because the jobs, we brought back a record. I think so. We brought back a record. Well, it's still not going to be as high as it was. It was really 39%.
Right.
So it looks like it could be at 25%. I brought it down to 21. But I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of and very importantly, the regulation cuts. I'm very proud of what I did for the military. I've rebuilt the military, and I've added something called Space Force. It's going to be so powerful, so important. So I've added another, think of it, I've added to the military. It hasn't happened since, I guess, 75 years, since the Air Force.
And the economy pre-COVID,
Space Force.
Record low unemployment.
We had the
for every
greatest numbers
demographic.
in the history of the world. We had the greatest economy in history. World. We had the greatest economy. We had the greatest job numbers. We're up to 160 million people. We were never even close to that. And if you think of it, I did it twice, because then the whole world went down. We've come back stronger than any other country in the world. They used to hit me with Germany and France and this and that. Well, they're doing terribly right now. They're all locked down. It's a disaster. They're having riots on their streets. This country is coming back strong. And it's very interesting. Places like Florida and Texas and many others, I mean, I could name many others, I think in almost all cases run by Republicans. I think in all cases, but they've done so well. And you look, I saw the other day Michigan. I would say there's been nothing as close, other than for her husband, who was, had free run of the place. I don't think that there's been any state more locked up than Michigan.
Are you running again in 2024? What are the odds? If I were to
First
ask...
of all, it's a long time. The odds. What are the odds? Look,
the odds.
I got tremendous numbers. Nobody's ever gotten the numbers I got. No sitting presidents come even close. There's more popularity now than there was the day before the election because they see how bad things are at the border. They see what's going on. They see that their guns are going to be gone, their Second Amendment, their taxes are going up, regulations are going through the roof, jobs are going to go out. Well, you see, this is going to take a little while to show. But if they add all these regulations back, the jobs are going to be gone. Your energy independence is going to be gone. So I say this. I am looking at it very seriously. Beyond seriously. From a legal standpoint, I don't want to really talk about it yet. It's a little too soon.
If you did run and did win, what would you do differently?
When I came in, we were hit with phony Russia investigations. It was a total phony deal.
That was 3 years of your presidency.
No. I've been fighting off investigations for 5 years. I mean, really, since almost the day that we came down, and they were corrupt, Democrat-inspired. I still have it. They were Democrat-inspired investigations. Russia, I remember, Sean, and I don't have too much time, I guess, with you, but a story, I think it's interesting. I haven't told it before. During the campaign in 2016, I'd be asked, like by one of our aides, "Sir, do you have anything to do with Russia?" I say, no. That would be it. Then, a month later, somebody would say, "What do you know about Russia?" I said, "No, what? I don't know what you're talking about." Okay, I wouldn't think of it. Then after 3 or 4 or 5 times, people would say, "Do you know anything about Russia?" I kept saying, "Nah." So after 3 or 4 times, I said, "What's going on with Russia?" They created a phony deal. It was paid for by crooked Hillary Clinton.
They made a phony Russian disinformation dossier.
Destroyed.
And they used it to spy on you as a candidate, your transition team, and while you were president. It says at the top of a FISA warrant, verified. It was unverifiable, and they knew it.
17 times.
They knew it right from the get-go. They knew it, they were warned beforehand, and they knew it certainly from Christopher Steele and the subsource by January.
It was a total fraud.
Yeah.
And you know what it did? It hurt any possibility of dealing with Russia. We could have had a good look. They'll say, "Oh, he loves Russia." Getting along with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing. Getting along with China is a good thing. The problem we had with China was COVID, because nobody ever took out so much money from China. If you look at China, I was taking tens of billions of dollars of tariffs from China, and our farmers were doing great. The reason they were doing great was because of the tariffs. I was able to sign a great deal for our farmers. But getting along with these countries, getting along with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. When I came in, President Obama said, and I think this is very public, the biggest problem we have is North Korea. There's going to be a war. There was no war. We got along great. He writes me letters. I like him. He likes me. There's nothing wrong with that. I got along great with President Putin. I liked him. He liked me. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. They made up this phony hoax just recently, which came out 2 days ago, that it was a total phony Russian.
It was a big deal in the campaign.
No, but you know what it does? It keeps you away from these countries, from dealing economically. We could have made a lot of money. They have great natural resources. We could have made a lot of money and done well in jobs and everything else. Getting along with Russia is a good thing. Getting along with these countries is a good thing, not a bad thing.
If I were going to bet, there's probably a lineup now. It sounds like you're running. It sounds like you haven't lost any engagement. You've been very generous with your time.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And thank all of you for taking the time to be with us.
All right. Thanks for watching Beshel News Service Podcast. It was a fun one. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got the updates that you need for the start of this week. Also, don't feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm working on making another channel specifically for like doing podcasts like this. But feel free to like, comment, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and feel free to like, comment, subscribe to this channel. And also, don't forget, comment down below what you know, just keep commenting down below what you think about the stuff that all the updates that I mentioned for this podcast. Alright? And also, make it a good day, have a good night, and have a great week. Have a good week too.